Welcome to another episode of Voices. My name is Augustine Amba, and you are?
Roger Fakembo.
Now, I want to start this particular episode of Voices by talking about the rights that the people of Ambazonia have as a people created by God, and those rights don't come from a state, they don't come from some organization. They are rights that are given to them by God, and people come into states or organizations because they want to better and enhance those rights. They don't come to destroy them. And these rights have been stated in universal declarations of human rights. I think the American Declaration of Independence captured it very well, talking about people having the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are not rights that are given by anybody else. Those are rights that they have as human beings. And so I wanted to preface this episode with that particular declaration so that anybody, including the people of Ambazonia, should know that the people of Ambazonia have the right to be happy, to pursue happiness, and to have life. And those rights come from God. They don't come from anybody else. So the people of Ambazonia, if they don't believe they're having those rights, they have the right to fight for them. If some other state wants to say, oh, some other right exists before the rights of these people, like Nigeria would like to claim the rights of La Republique to torture and kill the people of Ambazonia rather than the rights of Ambazonians to their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, I would say Nigeria is wrong. And Roger, I ease into Nigeria because the last time we talked on this show, the leaders, Siseko and his cabinet had just been kidnapped. Since then, we've really held our peace, waiting to see how things evolve, to see whether some other development has happened. But I can tell you that nothing has changed since that day one, because till today we don't know where the people are. Nigeria hasn't said anything. La Republique du Cameroon came out and said, "Oh, they are with us," but there's no proof. So nothing has changed. Where are you at on this?
Well, thank you, and thank you, our viewers. Thank you for laying out that synopsis. And I just take a step back to those rights that you were talking about. You know, you laid them out very well, and those rights, they are God-given rights, as you just said. Those rights were given to us by God. And before the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you know, the American people, before the American Constitution, laid them out, because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is built on those pronouncements by those Americans in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. The rights of people to be happy and to be free and to pursue their happiness. The United Nations then comes in as an institution to reinforce those rights, right? They came in after the Second World War, because after those two wars, they came in vowing that these things should not happen again. And we as an institution are going to put those checks and balances in place. We are going to put the United Nations Charter to reflect those rights, to build on those people's rights, because it is by violating people's rights that we end up in this war. It is by violating the rights of the people in Poland to be a free people, by the German tanks rolling into Poland and occupying Poland and then moving on to the other countries and all of that, violating the rights of those people to dignity, their territorial integrity, the right to freedom, and all of that the United Nations then came in and created those rights. Then we became trust territories in the United Nations. And then they said, no, we can't hold these people as trust people for eternity. These people have a right to be free and to govern themselves as they see fit. So then they started the decolonization process. And that decolonization process was to be able to set us free. Set the people free based on the people's aspirations, their choices, how they want to be governed, how they want to live. And all of those are enshrined in the United Nations Charter. I think Article 76B of that United Nations Charter clearly spells that we have a right to self-determination. We have a right to decide how we want to live, how we want to be governed, and how we want to be free. So all of those are built into those fundamental rights that God gave us, and these institutions are just supposed to help us live those lives and those aspirations and those freedoms fully, to the fullest. And unfortunately, an institution like the United Nations that we have criticized on this show so many times, and a country like Nigeria, they are undermining their roles and responsibilities as far as those our rights are concerned. So Nigeria, by arresting our people, yes, they might have a right to arrest them for whatever reason, if they believe that these our leaders violated any Nigerian laws. By right, Nigerian as a government can arrest them. But in that same Nigeria, there is something that is called, in common law, is called habeas corpus.
Before you go there, though.
Yes.
Before you go there, let me say one thing that I like that you said. I really like that Rogers stepped back from the Universal Declarations of Human Rights to give its origins. The origins of these rights came from what the Nazis in Germany did to human beings. You know, they roasted Jews in gas chambers. Mm-hmm. They went into any country and did whatever they like. Mm-hmm. And so there was no rule of law.
Yes.
And one of the countries that they went there and actually took and governed without a fight is France.
Correct.
And so there they imposed their money. All the Nazi practices were in France. Mm-hmm. And what happened was that, in total violation of these rights that you have said, France totally ignored all of them and took them and imposed them in Africa. And so like we've already said on this show, when decolonization was going on, the French refused to decolonize. And America and Britain, who were the allies fighting the Nazis at the time, tried to fight the French in Africa and actually were engaged in Dakar. And they had to make a decision whether should we fight the French in Africa or shouldn't we? They said, no, let's go fight the Nazis first. They're a bigger threat. And so the French got away with it. Because after the war, they did not go back to fighting the French. The American made the decision that it was more... Actually, Charles de Gaulle was the one who came out of a meeting with I can't remember the president, but it was the president after Franklin Roosevelt in 1946.
I think it's Eisenhower.
No, it's not Eisenhower. Before Eisenhower, who was it? The name starts with a T. Truman.
Harry Truman.
Yes, before that was Harry Truman.
Yes.
So Charles de Gaulle comes out of the meeting with Harry Truman and said, well, we have decided that it was more expedient to go fight communism, and so France was allowed to stay in Africa, and they are in Africa till today. And they maintain their money in Africa. The money that all Francophone countries use is French money. So they are being so Africans are being taxed. They are being taxed by the French for colonizing them. They own the resources of this country, both on top of the soil and below the soil. We have gone through that. They appoint dictators. So these universal declarations of human rights that we're talking about, the people in French colonies do not have. I'm spelling this out because it sounds like the Nigerians, when they talk of our good neighbors, they know Nigeria is surrounded by colonies. Nigeria is surrounded by colonies. And Nigeria has a duty to help those who are trying to decolonize themselves in these French colonies. I can tell you one president who has actually succeeded in that in Africa. It was Museveni in Uganda, who helped Paul Kagame beat out the French in Rwanda. Guess what has happened to the Rwandese after that? They've become like the number one country in terms of progress. And so this is what the people of Ambazonia are running away from. They are running away from a total denial of these human rights to the people of Amazonia for 57 years. And so when people and so when we talk about refugees, when we talk about leaders being arrested, and when we talk about these people being captured and sent back into the colony to be tortured and killed, that is what we are talking about, and that's what the people are running away from. Now, the only reason why I stopped you so that we go and revisit this is because it was very good that you went back to mentioning what initiated the whole idea of even declaring human rights.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in discussing what you were going to discuss about what Nigeria did, there's a law, and I think it's a right of refugees, which was also part of that Declaration of Human Rights.
Article 14.
Article 14, and let me see if I have that somewhere, because it's nice to read it before you start discussing it, because people just think about it. Now, Article 14 says, everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. Mm-hmm. Everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. Mm-hmm. And that is what Nigeria has violated, and is sending these people back to be tortured and killed. We're still going to come there, because I don't believe that, like I said, Nigeria hasn't said whether they send them or not. It's a lying La Republique that is saying it, and we can trust that.
Well, we have to assume, because Nigeria has not said anything, and Nigeria can put up a policy of a friendly neighbor, whatever they want to describe it. They can have a policy with La Republique that La Republique is a friendly neighbor, and they can do whatever they want based on that policy.
No, when you talk about La Republique, you really talk about France.
Well, France, I mean, any country in the world, remember that countries don't have permanent friends. I think it's Shimon Peres who said that. What I'm trying to say is that Nigeria, all of these countries, La Republique or Nigeria, they are signatories to these international laws and conventions. So you can have whatever regional policies and whatever you have vis-a-vis your neighbors or other countries. But there are certain laws that are universal laws that if you sign on to that law, you are obligated under that international law to respect those laws. What am I talking about? I am talking about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Article 14 that we talked about. Mm-hmm. That if people come to you, they are running away from persecution because of their political views. You as a country has a right to protect those people. And in that Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 14, there is what they call the principle of non-refoulement. And that principle says what? That these people running away from torture because of their political beliefs or religious views and all those things, you as a country that receives them cannot then send them back to the place where they are running from, because that would be in violation of that Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And that is what Nigeria did. They can have their friendly neighboring friendships with La Republique and stuff like that, but they don't have the right to violate international law, because even if the people that they arrested, if they claim that those people have not registered with the United Nations, as soon as you arrest that person and that person tells you, I am seeking an asylum, by law, you cannot deport that person until the legal process, or you have given them due process to go to court or to go to an immigration officer and present their case, and their case is heard and their case is denied before you can then try to send them out. But you cannot send them back to that country. You can look for another country where you want to send them to, but you cannot send them back to that country where they are fleeing based on that principle of non-refoulement. So that is, I wanted to draw that distinction between what Nigeria would want to do as a neighbor or a friend to La Republique versus what...
But they cannot violate the law.
They cannot violate the law, yes.
Now, like I've said, Nigeria hasn't said anything. Do you think these people are still in Nigeria, or do you think they've actually been sent to La Republique?
The only thing that I know is that I have to hold Nigeria responsible.
Okay.
If they are in La Republique, as Chiruma says, I don't know how they got to La Republique. The only thing that we know is that our people were arrested in Nigeria, and Nigeria should tell the world where those people are. We still have our refugees in Nigeria, and we'll thank them. We'll thank the governor of Cross River State for all the support that they are giving to our people. But those who have been arrested, we are talking about the 12 that were arrested from Nara Hotel and the other people who were arrested from Taraba State and ferried recently to Abuja. Since they got to Abuja, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees has not told us where they are.
Yes.
And the United Nations for the High Commission for Refugees said that these people have been transferred to La Republique. So whether it is true or not, we are going to hold Nigeria responsible and hold them to the legal international law that they are signatories to.
All right, let me ask you, let's not even worry where they are because nobody's telling us, but I think there's something very, I think Nigeria is, can you imagine a whole Nigeria not able to speak clearly? Do you know that the French in the 70s wanted to break up Nigeria because they were worried about a big, powerful, and resourceful country as Nigeria being able to free its colonies that the French surround. Mm-hmm. And Nigeria has ended up carrying French water. That's a shame because the Nigerian people are actually very industrious people, very progressive people, but their government has always been very embarrassing. And they failed even the French because the French thought Nigeria, they need to break up Nigeria because Nigeria will be too powerful. They will not be able to keep these colonies around it. But Nigeria has ended up aiding and abetting slavery and colonization next door. So let's really leave that alone, okay? Because we've not been informed. I personally don't believe that those people are in La Republique, because if they were, knowing what La Republique is, they will parade them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I think their reason of arresting these people is order to break the spirit of our people. That's what I'm hoping. Mm-hmm. And so my question to you is, what is the effect of arresting these people?
Well, you and I have talked here about the psychological warfare. We've analyzed that in parts of our previous shows. The goal of arresting these people mm-hmm. was one. It has always been to undermine the struggle, because they have found out that every single thing that they have tried to do, they have tried to cajole the people, they have killed the people, they have intimidated the people, they have burned their houses, burned their businesses, everything that they have done.
Even burned some inside the houses.
Yes, burned Mapolin in the house in Kwakwa. Every single thing that they have done has not killed the spirit in the people. Mm-hmm. Everything that they have done. So they looked around, all the people that they said that they were self-defense, they could do this, they could do that. I believe La Republique looked at them and saw that they really don't have anything to offer. And the only thing that was a threat to La Republique was this government, the interim government. So I think in their thinking, they believe that if they abduct these people with the help of Nigeria, then it will kill this thing. Remember, we have said that our revolution, our struggle, is the fight for an idea. There is no way you can kill an idea. So you can kill me today, you can kill you tomorrow, but that idea, it is an idea, it lives on. You can look at those children, little children, singing the Amba anthem and embracing the Amba flag and doing all those things. They are internalizing that idea.
Okay, so
they are breathing it. So there is no way you can kill it.
All right. So from what I gather is that they arrested them in order to stop the revolution.
Yeah, they arrested them to stop it. It's a psychological thing because you saw the ramifications abroad and even back home, but that was their goal.
Now the next question: did they succeed?
No.
Why?
Well, as I just explained, I answered part of that question when I tell you that it is an idea. You cannot kill an idea. You can kill somebody, but you cannot kill that aspiration to be free.
Yes, and you are correct. Here's what I want to add. Okay? And I think this is where they're really making the... I think La République has two goals in what they're doing. One, they want to prevent somebody coordinating the struggle, providing leadership to the struggle. Because leadership is very important in any endeavor. You could have a lot of talented people around, unless there's somebody coordinating and enhancing and harnessing the talent, you will not accomplish anything with that talent. And so part of La République's goal since 1972 is to make sure that we have no government. We have nobody leading us or coordinating our activities. And so from the Dinkas to the Justice Ebong to Bala and now Siseko, they're trying to make sure that nobody is coordinating it, because they know that if they coordinate us, then the talent rallies there, and then you can channel that talent in a constructive way to defeat them. So they destroy that. But the mistake they are making is that they are thinking that for example, with Siseko, right? The people made Siseko. Siseko is not a Charles de Gaulle who escaped to Britain and then rallied some forces and put some troops abroad and came in and fight. You know what I'm saying? So it is the people who said, we need a coordinator, the power is with us, we are going to give some of that power to the coordinator. Don't forget that before Siseko came, it was Tassan. And Tassan could stay in Nigeria and say ghost towns, and they were ghost towns. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Siseko came, he's a smoother, well-polished, and very effective. But La République arresting them and putting them in jail, it hasn't changed anything. Has it changed anything? Has it changed the momentum? Has it changed the focus? Has it changed anything in your view?
No, it hasn't. But before I answer that question, and just remind me if I don't answer it at the end, it hasn't. But let me address the leadership thing that you've talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, it is true that La République does not want, not that they don't want leadership, they want leadership, but they want the kind of leadership that they want, and it is what the French taught them. Remember, we've talked about these things, how you are only going to be allowed to do what we want you to do. They want
their internal self-determination.
Yes, so they want that, and I'm going to use the principle of clientele politics. I don't know if you have heard about it, to explain a little bit what I'm talking about.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
What clientele politics simply means is that you have this, we have these people like the Enoni Ephraims, this Bakosi guy, what's his name? The Atangan Jipos, the Philomenians, and all those people. You have these people, the Elokibis and the Mengot from Manfe and all those. Those are people playing the clientele politics. So what do? They go and do the bidding of the master, and then the master then gives them some crumbs and stuff like that. So the use of that clientele politics then allows the French and La République to send these people to go and represent them and be as the face of those our leaders, while they play the bidding of La République and France.
Among their people,
yes. So that is the kind of leadership that they want us to have.
It's more leadership to go and pacify the people,
exactly,
so that they can come in and take whatever they want anytime they want.
There you go. That is the word, pacification. So they use clientele politics to achieve those goals. They will put the face, the person that you are going to see in Manu is either going to be a Mengot, or in the Northwest going to be Philomene Yang, or you go to Womb, it is going to be who is that senator from Womb. So you go to all of those places. In each of these places, you go to Santa, you see Achide Achu. You go to Ngokitunja, you see this one. So in all of these places, you have these clientele politicians who then come as the face of the people, and you are going to see a lot of it as they say they are doing some kind of election. So you will see that clientele politics in play that I'm talking about. So now, the question that you asked me, if they have succeeded, no, they have not succeeded. What they have done, and I have talked to some people on ground zero, and this is what they told me. They told me that when they got that news that Seseko was arrested, the reverberations were enormous in every single part, even with the people who are in government. And we have told you people that these people who are in the Republic government, they don't believe in it. But it was everywhere. And the person who reported to me told me that it was like everybody contracted gastritis. So everybody was pain. They were in pain. Gastritis paining them because, so the people that you did not even imagine that they were in this struggle, you could see them after that abduction of Seseko, that they were involved in this struggle. So that abduction, not only did it put this struggle at a certain pedestal, but it reinforced that idea that we have to fight. It told our people that these people, you cannot trust them, because for whatever thing that they are saying, all what they are trying to do is to make sure that we never live as a people. So they are going to go to any length and go to another country and try to abduct and bribe and abduct people from those. Those people are not even in La Republique. They are not in La Republique. So they will go to that length and claim that they are going to go and abduct those people. It shows how desperate they are, and then it gives us that determination to fight more, to fight to release Seseko, to fight to release Mancho BBC, to fight to release Penn, to fight to release all those who have been locked up, and to fight for those who have been killed, fighting to release these people or fighting for our freedom.
Yeah, not only that, I think when you talked of the gastritis, there's no doubt that whenever there's loss, there's pain of loss. And I think that's what everybody suffered. But I don't think that in a struggle, people did not expect that. And I think that the adjustment has already taken place. Mm-hmm. Because right now, we do have an acting president of the IG. Mm-hmm. So there is a new force. Tell me, what do you think about that? The new. Actually, I shouldn't ask you what do you think about them. The reason I wanted to, and now I'm going to tell you what I think about them, and then you can tell me what. Because this, people are actually looking now and say, Seseko is, and I'm saying is because Seseko, we don't know what has happened. I think it is safe for our future gastritis to assume that they've been killed, so that when we find out, we're okay, rather than assume now that they haven't been killed and then find out that, because those people in La Republique are capable of anything. But before I say what I wanted to say, let me say another thing. Why do you think La Republique is so bent on committing war crimes to keep our territory? Because we were not part of them during their independence. And if you look at the landmass, maybe they're misrepresenting a map, which I think a map is bigger than what they're representing. But why do you think they're so bent on keeping us and committing all these war crimes and actually risking losing their own country? Why do you think they want us so bad?
You have to ask the French, because you have to take a step back and look at where all of this originated, because some people just think that this thing started with from 1972 when they lost Algeria in the 1966 Algerian crisis, and then they discovered minerals. Some people have made that allegation. Mm-hmm. They discovered minerals, and then they decided to try to take us over. No, I don't believe in.
Well, let me just restate that. I think that what history says is that they used to get their energy. That France used to get its energy resources from Algeria, North Africa, mm-hmm. And when they lost that, they were looking for new areas to get cheap oil for their energy for their industry, mm-hmm. and obviously sub-Saharan Africa became the place. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they put these dictators to rule is in order to harvest the resources and harvest them for free. They have to maintain stability and maintaining these strong people, these dictators, and these fascist forces to repress the people is the model which they find useful for them.
Yeah, and that argument can be true in certain contexts, but I want to look at our own context.
In Amazonia, yes.
Yes, and look at that historical aspect that you just described.
Yes.
And I want to take you to that 1608 resolution, the United Nations resolution 1608. You know, one of the people that voted against us gaining independence was
France and La République.
Yes. So you can take a step back and start from there, because at that time they still had Algeria, they still had access to those oil fields in Nigeria and stuff like that. But in that United Nations vote, remember, some of them were fighting for unification before independence, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
the UPC.
Yes, unification before independence. So my assumption or my deduction to conclusion is that La République and France voted against our independence because they have always believed that they own us. But they forget that the Simon Miller agreement had settled that we were not part of them anymore. Everything had been divided. We had different international boundaries, and everything was set in stone. So for them voting against our independence shows us that is when we should have started paying attention about joining these people and having to do anything with them.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say that I don't believe that because I think the only reason why they voted against our independence is because they are already cooked at the back with the British. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. With the British that they're going to get La République, because don't forget that by the time we went for plebiscite, the British already know where the opinion in our territory is going to go. Mm-hmm. They already knew that. So and because that whole argument that they own us is where they're going back to the German thing, right? Mm-hmm. No, they have no reason to own us. They're going back to the German thing because that's a fraud because the German Empire was broken up. The Simon Milner international boundaries that you talk about, those were already existent. So France knew that was British territory, but Britain had already said, hey, we know where this thing is going to go. We're going to not let the UN be part of this negotiation. We're going to prevent the UN. We're not going to cooperate with the UN when they come down to Ambazonia, to southern Cameroons, so that we'll give southern Cameroon to you.
Yes, but
so the whole thing about going back, I just want to say that when you say that they thought they'd own us, is the ownership comes because they had made agreements with the British. It's not because of some German thing. I think that German thing is just a fraud that they're using.
But you are making my argument. The problem is that you are just taking it a step further, because all of that is based on that premise. The reason they were making all those backdoor deals with the British is my argument is that it is based on that premise that we are theirs and they have to do.
Oh yeah, they already knew that they own us, so yes. There's no point voting to give them independence.
Exactly,
because it could only complicate that ownership.
Yes,
it could only and it did complicate it.
Yes,
because the independence was actually voted for. And there were negotiations about what kind of a relationship we should have. But I think we are digressing a little bit, because the question to you was, why do you think they're hanging on to us so strongly? Let me say what I think. Mm-hmm. I think they're hanging on to us so strongly because our territory is very resource rich. And I think they've mortgaged those resources. They've taken money from all kinds of deals around the world. And now those deals cannot be fulfilled because, hey, we've risen and we want our resources back. I hear that in CDC. They've taken the whole CDC, the whole management of CDC is all Francophones right now, except the general manager who they control. Mm-hmm. So the general manager is there just for namesake. Okay? So they've owned the CDC. Obviously, they've owned our timberlands forever. They've owned, you've heard about gold mining in certain territories, in our territory that is quarantined, where they go in with helicopters and get the gold out. You don't know how much Paul B has already taken from that. So that is my speculation. I don't have the facts, but just from an empirical perspective, that's what I think is happening. They've already mortgaged our resources, and right now we are fighting to take them back. And they are like, hell, if you take them back, what do we do? What do we do with all the money we've already taken, with all the commitments we've taken, with all the commitments we've made? And I think that's why they are fighting so hard.
Well, yeah, the resources is part of it. But you always have to remember that they are imperialist government. They are a colonial system, and nobody wants to give up their colony. You saw it the colonial operation in southwest SWAPO, which is what is called Namibia today.
Mm-hmm.
The United Nations ended that in 1966. When did South Africa leave in Namibia?
Yeah, much later than that.
Yes, it was in the 90s.
Yes.
So almost 20-something years after that. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, our resources is what is making these people hang on to us. But it is bigger than that. It is that colonial mindset that we are a colonized people and they can do as they want. And it is unfortunate that the United Nations, that the organizations that they say they are supposed to be protecting and decolonize, because colonization, they have said, is a crime against humanity.
Yes.
And in our case, they are not doing anything about it. There are other instances of the Morocco and all those other places. Morocco was recently accepted into the African Union after being blocked because of its occupation of the Sahara.
The Sahel.
Yes. So all of these things are things that we have to fight. I have always said that the United Nations is an instrument of colonization because it has not respected its own charters, its own articles, its own agreements and laws that it has put out. It has not respected that as far as our situation is concerned and as far as other situations are concerned around the world. So it is only up to us to force them to respect the laws that they have put out in the world.
Yes, and I'm just going to add to what you just said. The acting president of the interim government came out, and I think Chris Ano too has been very clear about that. That the international organizations have failed us, and we and the people of Ambazonia are right now on their own. And how is that faring on, anyways? How is that being on their own faring on right now?
Well, it is doing very well. You can see what La Republique is trying to do. It has even gone as far as bringing back the soldiers, recruiting soldiers from Chad, bringing some from France, and things like that. The people don't have anything. They are killing them, but they are resisting as much as they can. So if you ask me, the people are succeeding with resisting the colonization and imperialism being imposed on them by France and La Republique.
I'm actually going to say they're resisting very well.
Yes.
Because I read a report which said that La Republique has failed, that their troops were not prepared to come and fight a war, like to come and meet the type of resistance they met on the ground. And that's why they went and brought Chadian troops, and that the Chadian troops are frustrated.
Yes, they themselves are getting the same setbacks. And so...
And all of this information is coming from a Chadian high military official.
Yes. So, and you can see the frustration that they are experiencing and the setbacks. Now they have resulted to ISIS tactics.
Yeah.
You know the tactics that ISIS adopted in 2014.
Yes.
For kidnapping people and beheading them. So when people go down to that level, it shows you the amount of frustration that they are experiencing, and that is why they are going down to doing some of those things that they are doing.
Well, they're doing that because, like I've said many times, the French and the regime, the colonial regime they planted in La Republique is the same. In fact, they are the same people. It's not that it's just the same regime. It is the same people who are still there now. I was listening to a report where somebody was saying even the Minister of Youth and Sports, it's more than 60 years old. So the people who engineered the genocide in La Republique, which they used to pacify the Bassa and Bamileke lands, they're the same people, so they're using the same tactic.
Mm-hmm.
But we can promise them that they're not going to get the same results.
Yes.
And so I want to move it a little bit forward. And so they seize our leaders, like you said, and they want these people who play stomach politics.
Mm-hmm. Clientele politics.
Clientele politics. Clientele politics is the same as stomach politics for me, because they are going there just to take care of their personal needs. They're not going there to take care of the people. So they've used this, and I think Dr. Monzo made a very good statement that when La République sends a Noni Ephraim or the Prime Minister, what's his name again? Philemon Yang, to go and talk to our people and call that negotiation, is like, it's exactly what you just described as clientele politics. It's sending the same people that you've taken and they manipulate, that go back and manipulate your people. Meanwhile, you go around also saying that, hey, those are the representatives of those people. You see, they're trying to have their cake and also eat it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they are wrong. And so the whole world, the UN, the British, the Commonwealth, the US, everybody has been talking about genuine dialogue. And so, excuse me, so they arrest all these people, and then they're beginning to, I'm moving towards having you make comments, because while they're doing all these things, they're also realizing that they're not winning. And so they're fishing around for other models which would satisfy us and keep us within their control, so that they can continue to have access to our resources. Because obviously they've shown that they don't value us as a people. So the only thing, I don't think they need any more mass land, especially if there's no resources there. So they are really going for our resources. So here's what they did, and I want to hear what they went and got this lady from Switzerland to come, and they made a big splash of her as being somebody who is bringing a new model from Switzerland, blah blah blah. What did you hear about that?
Well, I have I had looked at the model from Switzerland, but not in the context of La République, but as a model that we can use to govern ourselves when we get rid of La République.
Not a model as having La République as part of us.
No.
Is there any model that you ever agree with that has La République as part of your environment?
No, there is none. There is none. And we have talked about that before. And people have asked me this. Some very good personal friends of mine have asked me this question, that if La République came today and said that we should sit down and talk with them and find a way to harmonize this situation, what is going to be my response? And I have said we cannot do that, because La République does not own itself. La République has the cooperation agreement that it signed with France on the 26th of December 1959, 6 days before their independence. So there is no way La République, with those cooperation agreements renewable every after 50 years, are going to be able to negotiate everything with us.
No, when you call them cooperation agreements, the word cooperation is actually not a bad word. I think you really should call them slave agreements, because those are agreements made between the fox and the hen.
Yeah, so and that is what we
call it. Can you call those cooperation agreements? Well, can the fox and the hen cooperate?
So that is where I try to tell people that if there was no France, and we just had two people that were broken up by colonialism and stuff like that, who have identical cultures and traditional institutions and things like that, yes, there's a way that we can sit down and talk. But when you have this imperialist hand that teleguides and dictates everything that happens, from education to legal appointments and there is no way. You cannot be sitting down to talk with your wife or girlfriend that you people are having a problem, and none of you can actually make a decision. One of you cannot make a decision because they have to go and consult with their family. How are you going to do that kind of a negotiation? So that is where the problem is. And I said that because you are saying that they are looking for a new model. I don't think that they are actually interested in it, because the Swiss model works because there is a rule of law. There is a way that there is a way to seek redress. So even if we accepted what La République is proposing, that somebody comes from Switzerland and then builds up something that we can buy into it, if we don't feel that it is working, what are we supposed to do?
Look, let me say this. There's a point you touched that is so important. I don't want to say you didn't even know how important because you mentioned it. You know what I'm saying? You did take off the French, and then you said people have the same language and culture. I can tell you right now, right, that if you took away the French, say the French end the cooperation agreements and they're gone, for the La République that we know right now, for the education that they've had from the French, and the laws that they've inherited from them, which they don't know anything else, we cannot even live with them.
Yes.
Because it would involve us re-educating them about what freedom really is and what individualism is. And you've heard some of them actually...
Listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
That is not impossible, though. Because
do we have the time to do that?
No, but listen, that is not... Because we've seen it happen in East Germany and West Germany.
No, those are two cultures. And
we are not even going there. That is not going to happen. We are just making an argument for the sake of argument. That for some reason, if that was supposed to... Because it is very, very impossible. If there were people that you could even consider that is going to happen, their reaction to what is happening to us now would have been different. You understand what I'm saying? But their reaction is something else, which goes to that educational part that you
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Because you know that in this town, in the United States, Francophones who got educated here, and you think that they've learned something. When this struggle started, you remember the debates we used to have with them. Did you see them even understanding where we're coming from about the rights of individuals? In fact, what they will conveniently do is say, oh, forget the English and the French, let's go back to our African tradition. And I don't hear any of them telling me that in an African language. You know what I'm saying? So the education and the culturalization that they've had, if the French were gone, I don't even think we'll make it with just the Francophones in La République. Yeah. And don't forget that in Canada, where they've had the same culture for centuries, the Canadians are still unable to live with the Quebecois. There's something that doesn't work between the French and the English. I think in Europe they found their compromise, but where that compromise of war, centuries of war doesn't exist, it doesn't happen. And I'm saying that the only reason why there's peace in Canada is because the majority is Anglo-Saxon that understand what rights are, where they can actually say, okay, Quebecois, you want your language, great. You don't want English on any signboards in Quebec, wonderful, have it your way. That's the only, you know what I'm saying?
And they have given
Can the French give us that?
No, but that, and not only
they
that,
would never give us that.
In Canada, they have given them that option. I think they've had about 2 votes.
They've given them the option to go away.
Yes, but their citizens vote to stay. So their citizens vote to stay.
They know what they benefit as part of Canada, so they will not vote to go away.
Yeah,
I'm saying that I'm only going through this by saying that, it's like asking a dog and a cat to live together.
Yeah, and you brought Simon Monzo a little bit into this conversation when we were talking about him addressing what that clientele politics done, sending Philemon Young to come and negotiate with us. That is us negotiating with ourselves. But he was recently in the news too. Where he came up and he made an audio or it's a video or whatever, and proposing a way forward. I don't know if you listened to it. And one of the things that he used as a platform for him to be able to articulate those positions was his legal education, where he talked about practicing, belonging to the Cameroon Bar Association and all of that stuff. And remember, this is somebody that I have said so many times that I do respect. But in his audio, he talked about the government of Cameroon granting amnesty to Anglophones. Remember, this is a lawyer speaking, and he is asking the government of Cameroon to grant amnesty to Anglophones. So my question to Dr. Simon Monzo is, what crimes did Anglophones commit that the government of La République du Cameroon should grant them amnesty? We have seen crimes committed in Kwakwa, in Kimbong, in Akum, in Bachibo, in Tadu, in Kifem, and all of these places. We have never seen anybody go on trial in La Republique or any person being investigated for these crimes. And you stand there, Dr. Simon Monzo, as a legal expert, and say that the government of La Republique should grant us amnesty. Where were we tried? Where were we convicted? Because before you grant somebody amnesty, that person, there has to be a due process, and that person has to be found guilty in the common law system that I know. So right. you might be advancing already your La Republique system of doing things and trying to extend it to us. The reason I'm introducing it, because you talked about him, and people need to understand some of these people that are coming across to us now as leaders trying to find a solution or compromise for us to work with. So I want you people to see some of the packages that they are trying to present to you. It is dressed in different colors, in different clothes, but the music is the same.
Yes, and the reason why they're doing that is because the resistance of the people of Ambazuna is very effective. Mm-hmm. And so they begin to twist and turn and roll themselves in knots in order to find a solution. And the part of the reason why we opened the show by talking about inalienable rights, it's so that there really should be no compromise on those inalienable rights. Because when you compromise your right to life, to liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then you're no longer a human being. You're either a slave, because people who have lost those are slaves. And so when a lawyer, like you rightly say, come and is proposing that, he's already accepting that you are not a human being. And so even though you've committed no crime, come into that patronage system. It's not a system of rights and wrongs. It's a patronage system where what you get is what the state gives you, and it's not, and like you say, it's not even a state, because if you go to Nazi Germany or to France, they have a way in which they treat their own people because those people look the same like them. Do you know that the French in Brazzaville, we've talked about Brazzaville, they actually said that in the territories, they're going to give rights based on qualification to have rights. So the most educated and those who are cultural, who are mostly French culturalized, will have separate rights from those who are not as educated. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so people like Simon Monzo, Simon Monzo obviously makes statements and go back to La Republique, which if you make, they're going to catch you in a plane and send you back.
Yeah, but see, and that is where that clientele politics comes in, because you have to see it through there.
Yes.
So they can do those things. They are the chosen ones, so they can come back and represent us in any situations. You know, if we are resisting, they have to be the one to pacify us. Or, you know, we are brothers, we come from the same place, we speak the same language. I'm a Bakosi man like you. Why would you be saying this? You know, see these things from my perspective. Because he is playing the hand of that.
I was going to say that is what they are expected to do.
Yes.
Because to have the privileges that you have to serve the system. Mm-hmm. And serving the system is delivering your people. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have to deliver your people. So they've taken away the leaders. They've tried to bring white skin to come and tell you about a Swiss model. You know, the Swiss developed that model themselves. Somebody did not come and so this idea, you know, people who serve a foreign master look up to the foreign master, look outside for their inspiration. They don't believe in themselves. I think what the people of Ambazonia would actually sit one day and actually appreciate themselves, because they are really being the humans that God created them to be. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They decided that enough is enough, and they're going to knock these people off. I hear that in just traveling between Bamenda and Bafut, soldiers who used to wear their T-shirts and control traffic and control bribes, they're doing the same thing now, but they're in military, in fighting gear, and they have a tent with sandbags surrounding it, just to control traffic. Guess who is winning that fight?
Yeah, it's costing them quite a bit.
And it is right that they're doing that, because when you come into a people's country and you invade them, you better protect yourself. You better protect yourself, and that protection will not be going on for very long, because I was going to say that for every move that La République makes to stop us, it only escalates. And so the taking away of Siseko, who to me was a moderate, a soft-spoken man, looking for ways to make sense, they went and kidnapped him. And the people who have taken over now, Chris Anu and Sako, they don't sound anything like Siseko used to sound. And I'm bringing it down to the ground now. So they said, obviously, no February 11, and today is February 11. How did it go?
Yeah, well, before we go there, you talked about these people bringing this Swiss lady to come and, propose something to them. And I want to take you back. History is a very good indicator of how things work. We had a system of indirect rule when we were colonized by the British. You remember why?
Yeah, because they valued what we had.
Yes, they valued what we had. What we had was working.
Yes, and we have lived with it for centuries.
Yes. So there is really nothing that somebody is going to come from Switzerland to try to teach us. So these things are there already. That is how we manage our villages and our traditional council and all of those things. So it worked. It worked when the British came in 1945, and they used it up to 1961, where they were supposed to leave, and they took down our flag and handed it to Ahijo. And that is what the United Nations has to answer for that. Because you cannot take down the Union Jack flag when somebody is getting independence. And instead of handing the flag of that country to the prime minister of that country, you give it to the president of another country. So those are the things that if this United Nations says it is an international organization, we are going to have to hold them accountable for those actions, because that is when that colonization started, and they cannot argue that. So as far as 11 February is concerned, last year you saw some goats. There were goats marching last year in some of those places.
Yes.
But there were no goats to march this year. The goats were completely absent. And surprisingly, the Lion Man too was absent from Yaoundé when there is really no problem in Yaoundé. So he was conspicuously absent. So there's been more.
Well, there's speculations about that.
Yeah, so yes. I don't know what to make. We don't have a problem with it. The only thing that we said is that nonsense is not going to happen in our territory. That is it. It did not happen, and the struggle continues.
Now, I hear that there are accusations that the SDF is trying to sabotage the fight of the people of Ambazonia to free themselves from La République by registering people for elections in Ambazonia, and the interim government has said there will be no elections.
Well, you always bring me to this SDF thing, but for the sake of serving our people, let me address that. John Fundi, like Dr. Simon Muzo that we just talked about, made a statement that the government of La République has a right to arrest Siseko and his team. That is what John Fundi said. And my question to John Fundi is, what right does La République have to arrest these people? What crime did these people commit against La République?
That's the question.
So you go out there and sit and give an interview and say the government of La République has a right to arrest them if it offered them an invitation to come and sit down and talk, and they refuse. Just a minute.
Was there ever an invitation?
I don't know, but those are his words. So when somebody like that who goes around,
but just hold. Was there ever an invitation by La République to the interim government or any representative of Ambazonia to come and sit and speak? I want us to clarify that, because every international organization, all the important countries have been saying dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. Was there ever one? Has one ever been called?
You have to ask John Fungi to answer that question.
Do you know of one?
No, I don't. That's why I'm saying you have to ask him to answer that question, because that is the basis for which he says that terrorist government in the Republic has a right to arrest these people.
Let me ask you another one. If Paul Biya called you to come and have a dialogue with him in Yaoundé, would you?
I would not.
Why?
So, those questions should be addressed to John Fundi, because those are the clientele politicians who go around claiming that they are speaking on behalf of the people. But all of the things that they say are self-serving. They are meant to position them at a certain pedestal with their masters. So that is all what it does.
It's amazing.
So he has to be able to determine to undermine this struggle. Why? Because if this struggle succeeds, then all of the payday that he is getting from La République and from France is going to disappear, because we are going to have a country that holds people accountable. So there is every single reason, a selfish reason, for John Fundi to make sure that he undermines these people's struggle. Because remember, the people, according to United Nations Declaration on Human Rights and Article 76b, have a right to determine their form of government, how they want to be governed. And it is not up to John Fundi or La République du Cameroon or France to come and tell us.
No, Pa, just hold on. When you talk of the people having a right to their form of government, I think that applies more internally. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Many American people can decide how to govern themselves. What the people of Ambazonia are fighting is actually a foreign invasion that came to destroy their, and has already destroyed their government, destroyed their economy, destroyed their culture, and they were actually coming to destroy them as a people. They wanted to change their language and take their children from them, because when you send children who speak, these people came and they're trying to colonize Ambazonia the same as the Germans came and colonized a raw and all tribal indigenous communities to form what was Cameroon. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because they came and they're doing the same thing like old time colonialists came to do. Because they came, they destroyed the chiefs, they destroyed the local sovereignties and created their own country there. Mm-hmm. So when they came to Ambazonia, they destroyed our government, they destroyed our economy, they destroyed, and then, you know, the roads used to head north to south in our territory. They used to leave from Bamenda through Manfe, through Kumba, through Boya, through Victoria, and then overseas. Mm-hmm. That's what the colonialists created, because to them, they wanted to drain the resources from the hinterlands to overseas, to their own lands across the ocean. And so every road led south. When La République came in, they changed all of that. Every road led east. So to go to Boya, you have to go through Bafoussam, go through Melon, Konsamba, Douala, and inside there you're burning a lot of money, you're burning a lot of gas, you're being culturalized, and you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so they came with raw colonization, which you've mentioned here is a crime.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that when I say the people have a right to determine how they want to be governed, we at the initial stage, we took that option which United Nations offered us, which was not the best for us, but we were given.
Those were the only two options. None of it was good.
Yes. So at that point, we made a decision. The people in Quebec that you just referenced, mm-hmm. they have attempted twice to decide whether they want to stay in Canada or be on their own, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Recently in Scotland, right? Mm-hmm. Do the Scottish people have any problem in the United Kingdom?
Nope.
But because of their sense of nationalism and all of that, they decided that they wanted to be out of the United Kingdom. That is the people deciding based on their own aspirations how they want to live.
And let me pile on to that. Britain, after several years in the EU, decided that they don't want to be EU anymore. Yes. They left, right?
Yes.
Even in Russia, my brother.
Yes.
Even in Russia, the Soviet republics went on their own. There's something racist that is going on. You see, everybody in the world can do that, but not Africans. And that's what Nigeria is buying into. You understand? That's what Nigeria is buying into. And then that leads me to come and ask you, is Nigeria going to succeed? Because what Nigeria has done in order to divert attention from the fact that they arrested people and we do not know where the people are, they started talking about, oh, Cameroon and Nigeria will make sure that nobody uses each other's territory to destabilize their country. That's a diversion from the first crime that the Nigerians committed. They need to say where the people they were arrested, where are they? We need to know that. But with these proclamations that we're not going to let our territory, do you think Nigeria has any control over that?
No, well, like I said before at the top of the show, I said they can put out whatever statements and whatever policies they want to put out. But what we know is that there is something called international law and Nigerian law as well. And remember, Nigeria is not one of those countries like the Republic. So what I'm hoping is that the Fulani law firm, law group and stuff, they would go, because there is a case in court already.
Yes, but that's not the question I'm asking you.
So no, what I'm trying to say is that, I know that is not the question you're asking me.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is that they can put out those statements about how they don't want to use each other's territories and stuff like that. But there is a law that Nigeria has violated, and Nigeria will have to answer to that for that law.
No, that one is clear. My question to you is, can they really control people running away from murderers not to cross the border and find safety anywhere in the world?
But that is the law that I'm talking about. That is because that is an international law. People can leave from Kimbong or Kwakwa and go seek refuge in Nigeria. And the Nigerian government, by that international law, has to protect them.
You know,
and if it is not doing that with this case, because that is what will be exposed in this case. Because the refugees that are in Nigeria now, some of them don't even want to accept services because they are not sure whether the people coming to provide them those services are agents of La Republique. And that it is all because of what Nigeria has done.
Yes, they've allowed La Republique to cross the border and chase them even in Nigeria.
Yes, so that is what Nigeria will have to answer for based on their own laws and the international law. And the High Court in Abuja is going to be hearing that case. And the Nigerian government will have to defend its place. Remember, I just read somewhere there was a Nigerian citizen that was deported to Chad some time ago. Mm-hmm. And this same law firm, I think it's the same lawyer, had to fight for him to come back. And the Nigerian government paid compensation to this guy. So this thing is not over yet.
No, it's a very serious, and let me say this, there's a parliamentarian who was very clear about what is going on and the seriousness of what is going on in Ambazonia in terms of the stability of the whole of that region, mm-hmm. and the international laws that are being violated by La Republique and Nigeria. And I want to make a distinction that the people of Nigeria, I think I've already spoken about that the people of Nigeria are very kind, they are very industrious, they are very progressive. You know, in this country, Nigerians are some of the most progressive people in this country. Mm-hmm. A lot of them own their own businesses. I mean, multi-million-dollar businesses. That's what Nigerians do. But Nigerians have not been blessed with progressive governments. Their governments have really been underperforming and they have been underperforming mostly to the French, because the French took Nigerian forces to go and kick Gbagbo out in Ivory Coast. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. And the French have engineered Nigerian government to commit these crimes that you're talking about.
Yeah. And
so there's an evil axis being formed between La Republique. You know, George Bush used to talk about the axis of evil when they talked about Iraq at the time.
Iran
and
North Korea.
Yes.
And Venezuela.
So what Nigerian government is doing with the colonial government of La Republique is a crime syndicate they're forming. And we didn't even talk about how much money has been claimed that La Republique took to go and bribe all these people in Nigeria. You wonder how much Buhari himself had.
Well, and that is why we talk about terrorism. because that's state sponsors of terror, as George Bush would put it. You go to another person's country and you bribe, you commit crimes because corruption is bribery, and corruption is a crime. You pay people to abduct people and then hold them or sneak them out. That is a kind of government.
And Nigeria used Nigerian government officials to commit this crime.
Yes, and that is what they are going to be able to answer for. And that is the kind of government that people like Simon Munzu, Agbobala, John Frundi, Kawala, and all these people are asking our people that no, let us just turn a blind eye and see how we can fix things and stay with these people. And I tell you people, no, what you people are doing, it is the right thing. And as long as it's the right thing, it is something that we should stand up for. And if it means dying for it, like we have lost some of our brothers and sisters and our grandparents, let it be.
And let's end this by a quote from Siseko, where he said, first they will ignore you, then they will laugh at you, then they'll fight you, and the last one,
you will win.
Thank you.